I'm already studying already. What the heck? So wood. I think we should start. That's what I'm trying to say. Come on, JoeLoboPresents. We've done this plenty of times. 3, 2, 1. Welcome. Welcome to the world's famous billions watched. We are live here on TikTok. If you don't know who my name is Joe Lobo. This is JoeLoboPresents. This is where I do my podcast. Some of you might be aware that, I'm on TikTok as well. I'm on other platforms, TikTok, IG, Facebook, what have you. But we do the podcast here. So I welcome you guys in. So we're going back to being consistent again. I know that, we talked about it in the last podcast where just what happened and where have I been for the past 2 months? And you're like, where is Joe Lobo Presents? Did he just stop doing his podcast? And no. And just to recap of what happened to that, it was basically got burnt out. That's simply put, burnt out. I think what I was mentioning before is sometimes when you worry about quality, you get quality to run all over your mind. And for me, it's just like a person that thinks too much. That's what happened. We tried to make this as perfect as possible. What came to find out that the editing itself made it crazy and we stopped. So again, as the promise, we're going to go back to this again. We're now at the second podcast of coming back. So I welcome you guys in. If you're brand new here, what I usually do is just I use my life events. I use my experiences. It's totally up to you. I try to point these towards situations where maybe you're not having a great day or you're looking for feedback on certain things and events, and whatever you believe in, you search it here on YouTube and wow, I appear to you, and maybe you get something out of it. So that's me in a nutshell, where I use my life experience to show maybe there's a people like me who can grow off of me or take some stuff off of me. That's really what it is at the end of the day. And, it's funny because I always think about this piece as just, okay, am I doing this for profit? Am I doing it for that? And it will come. I believe what I'm doing in my content. It will come eventually. But I think what's important is the value you take away from these podcasts. It's just what is Joe Lobo Presents saying today? What's the important topic he has discussed in this last podcast? So for example, with the last podcast, it was the break and trying to make stuff simple, going back to the basics of why did you even want to do podcasts? Is it the quality, or was it the quality of the streams, or was it the message? And I think that sometimes where that you get so caught up in yourself that you miss the message. So I'm back here again. I think the goal of these is I know before, and people who've listened to me, by the way, I am available on Spotify, on Apple Podcasts, my full catalog. If you're ever curious and see how far we have made it in this podcast, I think we're above 50, 51, I think. But you can see the birth. We originally, and I mentioned this before, we originally started from TikTok. And mind you, I live in the Philippines. I'm born from the United States. Been here now in the Philippines for now 2 years. Starting in TikTok in the Philippines is a challenge to do a podcast. And you know why? Is because of the fact that my audience is predominantly Tagalog. So it was a challenge within itself to do that. And, we started there. So you can see, if you want to go to Spotify or Apple Podcasts, you can see and listen to how much we progressed and where we're at now. Now, why are we here on YouTube? Because of the fact of, I feel, in my opinion, there's a much better reach here on YouTube. Not to mention for the Filipino audience that I have, where, before, I remember, and it's funny, I'm thinking about it right now. On TikTok, I used to put so much work in the quality, as in, for example, putting up a translator from like my iPad and having my camera look at the iPad to see what I was saying in Tagalog, from English to Tagalog. And then that evolved to when we got our computer from the United States, putting it on screen display and then showing it there. Now, fast forward to where we are now. It makes it so much easier, not to mention, not for just Philippines, but other countries that end up going to this and watching this and seeing. They can put the subtitles on their home language, assuming that their, let's say their language or dialect is common, I guess you can say, for the people that watch their YouTube or whatnot. But I would believe that, you should be able to watch subtitles in your own language. So why am I saying that this is, and this kind of relates to the topics we're going to talk about tonight. It's about consistency, honestly. So if I go back to the birth of the Authentic Podcast back in July of 2025, like if we didn't keep on doing this, like I don't believe our quality or even our reach, not necessarily reach. I think it's the etiquette that I have on these podcasts. I don't think we would had improved. So if I look back to all the 50 episodes from the beginning to now, you can see how much we have grown so much. Like even the equipment we use. Like I remember back then in TikTok, and this is where I had this friend on TikTok where she's a professional singer and she's like yelling at me, but she was teasing me. She's like, why don't you just buy this stuff? You're going to eventually get it anyway. And I was telling her, why do I want to invest so much money where I'm not even sure this is going to be it? Like this is something I can do. So, I ended up basically buying the budget setup that they had available on TikTok shop. Now it was basically came with a mic, came with a boom arm, and then it came with a mixer. Oh my goodness, when I forgot it the first time, it sounded like shit. Like I could literally hear myself on the mic. I can hear how bad the mixer was, but hey, it's the growth in it. But it did start the journey, of how important, it's going to be in where you invest in your quality. Like you're talking about too much about quality, but if you're going to be doing a podcast live, you should damn well care about your quality. So many iterations going through TikTok. We went through oh my goodness, we went to I think 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 mics. And then we started first, and then the intention first before we got to the podcast, because predominantly, yeah, it led to the podcast, but just it was going live on TikTok. It was one of the things why we would go live on TikTok. I would play a speaker for my music to my phone, and then I thought it was cool. But it wasn't until I listened to my recaps and I'm like, oh my god, I sound like shit. And that's where the investment going into the next mixer came in, where I was thinking the idea was okay, if I want to go live and I want to talk, but I want to hear music. So this is the key thing you realize that for me, right? Here on my podcast, I always play background music. By the way, this is from what do you call this? This is from is it BIO? I'll put it where this is coming from, but this is copyright free music. I can play it on YouTube. So music, I think it's sets my mood, I guess you can say, when we do these podcasts. So if you look at my how I was doing on TikTok, or you look at Spotify and Apple Podcasts, you'll see that music is heavily involved in one of that. So my intention was that mixer was, I want to be able to listen to my music while I talk. And that came with my first mixer. That was a good mixer. It did what it was supposed to do. It was inexpensive. I think in USD, peso, it was 1,000 pesos. So USD is maybe $10, 10 to $20. So we did that. It did what his job is. And then here goes the quality thing. I was okay, let me invest more on my mic. And then we eventually came to this point where we have a Moono PD400X, We have the Monocaster 2. We have the better camera. We have the lighting. That's how we're at now. And I think it's, when it comes down to looking at how far I've gone, even from the birth of me just going live, not necessarily talking about the podcast yet, because I think we didn't do the podcast until like July when we did our first podcast. Consistency plays a huge role. Like if I didn't, even like just being confident in talking, if I didn't go live every day on TikTok and force myself to talk, and mind you, there are times when you're on TikTok and maybe here on YouTube, I don't know, but for the most part, there are times where no one, quote unquote, is watching you. So in my mind, when I was going through these lives, and I was just thinking like, okay, if I want to be successful at this, I got to learn how to keep on talking. So I remember there was times like the first time I went live on TikTok, I literally lasted 25 minutes, because like I try to copy other people and see how they did it, and it didn't work out. Like there's a certain live view you can do on TikTok where you can just panel up, but you don't show yourself on video. I didn't like it. I didn't. It just felt weird. And this is where the birth of like, okay, let's put my face to stuff, and then we talk. And there was an individual who, along that way, just like, you should show your face. And this is where it led to. But I think the consistency of talking, just keep on talking, even if it seems like, no one's there, or you're in the beginning not sure what you're saying. It just go through the motions, be honest with you. Like, you have to be consistent. You have to think about like, okay, and this is my thinking. Like, I tell you straight up, these podcasts, I may think about the topic of what we talk about, but none of this is planned. If I do plan something, it's maybe like 5 minutes before this, or 5 to 10 minutes before this. Like, okay, we'll talk about this. But I think for the most part, these are organic. Not organic food, but I think the better way I was trying to say it was authentic. Like, these are genuine conversations of an individual who just talks off his box, I guess you can say. So that practice and that journey of just doing repetitive times, just talking over and over and over, has led me to here. And this is where, like, you talk about consistency, right? Like, you're not consistent in yourself. Like, you're not disciplined enough to do certain things, and like, you're never going to get to a position or point where like, you're going to be doing something. You know what I mean? Like, or being able to be successful at something. So that is, basically what we're going to be talking about today. I think we also, when we do these podcasts, like, we also talk about like, okay, well, what has happened in the life of JoeLoboPresents? Again, Joe Lobo's life outside of here off of social media, it is going well. Yes, mind you, I'm human. Let's be honest. Like, I'm human. I go through all the same stuff that you are. Granted, I think my podcast it's self-help, and it's giving, light to people who are in the dark, essentially. But I go through my stuff too. So yeah, there's some high points and there's some low points. I mean, basically, being an entrepreneur here in the Philippines is challenging. And also understanding, like, the things that may worry you, you should try to find a way to not allow them to run your mind. And thank goodness for me, and this is like, talking about consistency, this is kind of tying into consistency. This one of the things I do that's consistent with everything I do is just like meditation. Like, I meditate daily. Now it seems like I'm meditating twice a day, but the reality of this is that keeps me being consistent like that. Just keeps me at present. Yeah, keep me at present, or keeps me consistent through the day. Where just like, I am able to be grounded on, who I am, what I'm doing, and just that assurance that, everything's gonna be fine. And yeah, being like in a entrepreneur, I guess you could say, in the Philippines, like, it is a challenge. And There are many things that people will bring up and you're just like, oh my gosh, like you start thinking about it and you start thinking about like the worst situations. And then that's this challenge too. It's just like where if you interact with certain people and like they're not in the same, let's be honest, like same wavelength, and then they start talking about certain things and events that like, you know, may affect you, but it's just like they think so much of the end, the worst end. It is a challenge, right? It is definitely a challenge to be able to walk through your daily and tell yourself it's okay. But what helps me keep grounded, honestly, is the meditation, just the reassurance that everything is gonna be okay. Like, as you all know, and maybe you don't know, I am a believer in to each his own, everyone. I am a believer in the law of attraction. I believe in the manifestation. I believe the energy that you put out is, depending on what it is, on whether it's positive or negative, you get the same reflection back. So in my mind and who I am, yes, I am optimistic, of course, because of my intentions of like, you know, what I want to manifest, who I want to be, who I want to attract. At the end of the day, like, you know, you have to be consistent with that. Again, talking about consistency again. So I'm always the person, a believer, and this is the same thing with, you know, with the things I want to, the things I want to complete, I want to hit as a goal or experience. Always put the intention to there and just believe that, okay, where I don't know how we're going to figure out this, but we're going to be there. Or having a sense that we will be there, but we will be fine. It looks scary as shit right now with all the uncertainty that's going to happen, but having the belief and faith that it's going to be okay. And that's where, like, you know, using and practicing meditation goes in a lot of it plays a huge role in my life because of the fact that, like, you know, it keeps me sane, keeps me grounded. I mean, just going back and talking about consistency, like, I've been meditating, and this is best example of being consistent. I've been meditating for now over 15 years. It's a daily thing I do every day. Now it's twice a day. It's one of those things that it feels weird if I don't meditate. It's like it's one of the things where it's like it's a part of me where it's you know, if I don't do it, then it just messes the whole day up, if you know what I mean. So that's why, you know, as an example of consistency, I meditate every day. So, like, you know, my week outside of social media and whatnot, it's challenging and just, but at the same way, there's other rewards when you have the opportunity to meet people. So yeah, there's individuals I met, and it's cool and it's interesting how, in terms of the law of attraction, like how they fall on your lap. It's like in a sense of, like, you know, you're meant to meet the person or you're meant to experience this event. So I don't know, I don't know why it happens and when it occurs. It could be because they're aligned to you somehow or some way, but those events are amazing. Like I tell you, if you're not aware, I don't believe in chance. I don't believe in coincidence. I do not. I believe and feel that, like, you know, you're here. If you see something, you meet somebody or experience it, there's a reason why you're seeing it or feeling it or experiencing it. It could be something in which, like, you know, you're meant to see it because you're on a certain path of understanding, like, okay, what, like, you know, you had to experience this first before you actually go towards what you really want. Or if, for example, you are looking for individuals who think similar or feel similar to you, and then somehow, some ways, a person appears, and then it seems as if, like, you've been talking forever. Like, those moments and times are wild, and it's just like, you know, I had that experience recently where it's just like, okay, wow, like, where does this go? And it's interesting. It's just like how it kicks off, and then, like, there's so much of a high from it. And it's interesting. Like, again, and what circumstances you are in, whether it's meeting a person or it's experiencing an event, I always have that thing where just like, okay, well, it seems legit, but let me see, let me confirm, and let me just be a little on my guard of, is this legit or not? And I'll be honest, like, and I think for my example, I'm talking about meeting a person. Like, it's weird how you meet individuals and you're just like, oh, I never thought I would be able to meet and talk to this person, and look, we're talking now, and it's weird. But in the same way too, just like, I have to I show my cards, but not all my cards, I guess you can say, where it's more of a protection of myself, because it's just like, like, I tell people, and I've said this multiple times, like, I'm an individual, like, where I am extroverted. Don't get me wrong. I can talk to people, and as you can see here, and I get a lot of accolades for my voice and whatnot, where, I speak well, I guess you can say. But in the same way, I mean, I'm that type of individual where just like, I don't share my energy with everyone, if you know what I mean. Like, and it might sound cruel when I say that, but I think it's a layer where just like, it's hard to get along with certain individuals. Like when you talk, like for me, right? I talk sometimes deep, and I do talk like, philosophical sometimes, and it may not fit for most people. So like, what usually happens when you do that situation where you're talking about one thing and the other person has no idea what you're talking about, people probably won't understand. They'll make jokes, and it's just like, okay, well, from my mind, it's just like, okay, well, it's kind of a waste of time. So that's me, right? And to each his own, right? That's how I run, and that's what I feel is like, what keeps me level, I guess you can say. So when it comes to that, like, I don't share my energy with everyone, and there's a reason to that. Just I think it's because of the fact of, as well, like, I try to avoid negativity and toxicity, because it just doesn't do anything. It doesn't vibrate with, like, my beliefs and whatnot. And it's one of the things where I feel like recently too, just like, you can see how much of a drain it is when you actually talk to certain people who are like not in the same way of living as you. So this is why, like, like, I share it with certain individuals. And then, like, speaking of this person I met, I was just like, and we're friends at this point. I think we're friends. It's just like, it's interesting of who this person was and how I was even able to talk to them. Like, that's the thing. And I always question that, and as I ask that individual, like, how do we even get to talk? and that's where like, it's amazing where, like, there's things that happen and you just have to roll with it. Like, there is a reason for everything, I believe. Like, there's a reason why you meet people. There's a reason why you experience certain things. It could be two things. It can be in terms of talking to people and building relationships, like friendships. I've mentioned this before. Everyone who I meet, especially for a female, we all become friends, regardless of what the circumstances, whatever is going to happen after that or beyond that or what have you. Building the friendship base is so much important to me, where like, it gives me the opportunity to understand who you are. Like, I am not an individual whatsoever, and I'm talking about females, right? I'm not a type of individual I just want to just dive in immediately and chase. No, I'm at the point in my life where there's a lot of priorities I have, and I want to try to mitigate and lessen the amount of things that could potentially affect me, if you know what I mean. And that's where, like, for example, what plays important is building the friendship base. So this is where I take the opportunity to understand, okay, what are you about? Like, what makes you happy? What makes you sad? What are the things that you like to do? What's the things that you don't like to do? Because I think from there, like, if you're really thinking about, like, building a relationship, I guess you can say, like, beyond, let's say, romantic, like, you really want to know those things. Like, for me, that's important. Like, I want to know, okay, well, if there is a chance, and I'm not saying everything's a guarantee. Like, it could be that, and I'm perfectly fine with that. Where it's just like, if it's just going to be friends, then that's fine. But if there's a chance and there's something bigger than let's say, just a friendship, you definitely want to know, honestly, you definitely want to know who this person is. That's me, right? I really want to know everything. And I think it makes it easier for me because like, that's just where you try to find and understand who they are. And then also you put your boundaries or your kind of like boundaries. Like for me, like, I don't want to be in a position where like people are trying to change me for who I really am, because it's not gonna happen. And same thing as well, I wouldn't go out of my way and say, hey, this is my belief set, you better believe in this stuff. Like, that's not gonna work. I feel that if you go into a relationship where you're trying to change the individual or the individual's trying to change you, you might be running into trouble. So best example is if you are dating someone and you're compensating or you're accepting the people's change. What if you break up that person? What if you end a relationship and you are kind of, you know, that effort that you put into, I guess, you lose yourself. It wasn't even worth it. So that's where, for example, that I go off of like, you know, let's be friends first. Let's find out who we're talking to. Let's see if we even like vibe right in just being friends. And I think from there, like, that's where you can find out. Like, let's be honest, if you're as adults, right? Like, if you know there's a vibe beyond friendship, then that's where it should be. As adults, you discuss it. We're like, okay, what do you think? And then go from there. And that's where, for me, is I think I'm just no nonsense. I just don't want to deal with this stuff. I don't want to deal with drama. Just like, oh my goodness. Like, again, I'm at a point in my life where I feel like I have priorities to do stuff. And it is a challenge within itself. If I make it even more complicated, where I guess you could say fishing out an individual who potentially could be romantic, if I don't fish it out or I don't like thoroughly understand who the person is, it might be really bad. And again, some people might tell me, well, Joe, why don't you just find out and just dive in? And I'm like, no. I think it also goes back to experiences as well. I have mentioned this on my podcast, like, this person you're listening to right now is definitely not the individual who was 20 years ago. Like, he was introverted. He worried about what people thought. He essentially felt that, okay, in order for me to make sure this relationship stays intact, I'm going to lay down and make sure you are happy. I don't care what I feel. That's probably the worst shit that you can ever do. And that for me was like by doing all that stuff. And this is like friends and romantic relationships. Makes you realize like, okay, how much of your self-worth is so small. You know what I mean? So small in the respect that like you don't even self-love yourself, where you just falling in line with an individual. You may not believe what they believe, or you just more worried about like, okay, well, if I do not fall in line or try to make this work, they will leave me. And that's like this thing where like it was what I was living, and I think I lacked a lot of self-confidence. I lacked a lot of self-love, and it was one day I was like, why am I doing this stuff? Like, what's the purpose of me acting this way? And this is where like, okay, I put my foot down, changed my perspective, and this is where I led to the person, individual right now, which is like, embrace yourself, love yourself, prioritize yourself. And regardless of what people say to you or what they act around you, whether they like you or not, it's up to them. And that to this day, that's basically how I am, where based on my life experiences and what I've gone through, it's just like the stuff where I put in my mind where it's just like, okay, I know who I am. I know what I'm about. I don't need anyone to change me. I know what my belief set is. However, I would enjoy individuals who like want to join my journey, whether you're a friend or whether it turns romantic, whatever it is. Just be in a position where like, okay, we have some similarities and we just have a journey together, and we have a adventure, whether it's as a friend or something romantic. I think that is the best way to do it. That way you embrace each other for whatever qualities you are, whether it's positive or negative, which you'll probably find out. And this is where like you just adjust to it, you adopt to it, you adopt it in a way where you don't lose yourself in this. So that's the premise of me. We're just like, once I want to get to know you, we all start friends. So that's the important thing where like, I play that and it's very consistent. We're talking about consistency here. I am very consistent into that. And just like, even where like I I sense something is not right, I start questioning myself, or I start, and it's one of the things like where I talk about my philosophy of 100-0, where I start, if I feel like there is like some sort of threat or some sort of weird vibe, I start to disassociate for a little bit. And I think it's more of a protection, because it's like, you're not sure of like, okay, if an individual is acting genuine or this and that. And I do that because of the fact that like, I don't want to deal with toxicity. If like someone can't be upfront with me, then why even bother? It's 100%. I'll be honest with you. Like, I don't want to bother. I don't want to deal with people who are like, who talk shit or who are toxic or don't want to feel like I want to waste my energy. And that's why we're like, the 100-0 thing. We're just like, I will immediately turn off someone if it's just, I feel like you disrespected me or you talk shit about me. You go immediately to 0. So like with the 100 thing, the 100 thing is amazing because it's like, I show you my support. I show you my love. I show you my affection, who you are. I'll go to bat for you. And it's amazing. It's beautiful. Sometimes like it gets, I know there are individuals like where I feel like they get super overwhelmed by me, and that's what it is. But the ones who actually feel that vibe and they realize, wow, this is what this guy offers, I think those are the ones who definitely like, benefit the most. So now, why am I talking about friendships things? Because of the facts, like what happened this week, or a couple weeks actually. It was cool. Like just meeting someone, a complete stranger here in where I'm at. And I had never thought that would get that far, but it's just like, there are similarities with this individual that we both, as I've mentioned before, we're both working out. So that was one of the things, like, it's just like the person was a fitness enthusiast, like huge following. And then one way or another, we're now talking as friends. And that's freaking amazing. We're just like, and I always go back to law of attraction, manifestation. This is wild, like how they put people in front of you, or they put things in front of you to see like, okay, like here you go. I can't tell you what's going to happen, but let's see how this is going to play out. And it's always, again, like I mentioned, like there's a meaning to why things appear. There's a meaning why you meet certain people. There's probably some reason why they're there. And it's whether it's for them to join your journey, or I guess you could say, learn a lesson. And I would learn in this journey is that journey of myself, what I've came to believe as one of my core tenets, I guess you can say, where, based on where you are and your path of life, like not everyone's going to follow you as friends. Like your friends will definitely come and go. Some, even if you had friends for over 15, 20 years, you'll notice all of a sudden, because if you're changing, those people will change too. And also, if the topics of what you talk about no longer jive with each other, then what's the point of talking to them? So that's where, like, for example, that happens. But it's an interesting as well is you will find people. And I think those are the times where, like, the universe or God or whatever you want to believe on, what do you want to believe in, they come because of the fact of where you are in your life. But it's just like interesting how it plays out, where it's just like, okay, this is where it plays out. This is how it's going to be. And then you find out, wow, person's cool. Person is a interesting person to meet. We'll see how far that goes. Again, there's no guarantee in life. There's no guarantees of how far your relationship is going to go. But what's the most important is what's most important for me is like you just build a friendship base. So that, I think that's what's important from that is because it builds trust. Then, once you build trust, then that person or you are able to open up more. So anyway, that's what happened for me. met some individual. That person was cool. I don't know where it's going to lead to, but I think what's important to me is just like, finding and building a friendship from that and see where it goes. I am never in a point of putting myself in the position where I have to rush. I will not rush. And you guys will probably get the idea of how I'm saying it, if it's male or female, but it's just like, I'm never going to rush into finding and determining what's next or looking beyond. I can only focus on the friendship, and I'll only focus on the friendship. Whatever happens from that, we'll see. We'll see. And then, what else happened in my life? That's pretty much it. Been doing the same stuff. We talk about consistency. We are still working out. I think one thing we did add is an active recovery. So after I do those hard workouts, and I do post on TikTok. So if you ever want to see like my posts on TikTok or even on my Facebook channel, on Instagram, I think I should still start posting it there as well. I post my workouts. So my workouts are intense, and to the point where I felt like, okay, I need to add active recovery. And what is an active recovery? It's a low impact exercise where you're not destroying yourself, because the day before you destroyed yourself. And what I mean by that is just like, if you ever look at my workouts, oh my goodness, we're burning like almost 2,000 plus calories. So we are completely destroying ourselves. And what kind of exercises is it? It's an HIIT Hydrox exercise combination. So you can always take a look of like what it is on TikTok, and mind you, I might just put it here and you'll see it. But I think for the most part, it was important to add a active recovery, and this active recovery is just like doing a 5 kilometer. So I think that translates to 3 to 4 miles. I don't know, but I think it's important for me to do that so that, like the longevity of the workouts, if I want to stay consistent. Also too, and if you're sore for certain things, doing an active recovery will help you. Like my workouts involve a lot of legs. So I tax my legs a lot with the squats, with the push and pull from the sled, the burpees. I mean, it's crazy. We're like almost like 90 plus burpees total. Now it's through the whole workout. We still have to go to the next route where we can do them straight. We'll get there. But again, it's all about the consistency, right? It's all about consistency. So that's what I did. I added another workout, which is a active recovery, where we're starting to put in like, walking, and it's an easy walk. It's not even too hard. My heart rate, my blood pressure is not even moving that much because we're just walking. So it's walking 5 kilometers. We started doing that. I probably might, by the time we finish this podcast, we'll probably do a walk the next day, so that like, when it comes to Tuesday when we work out again, that we're sort of more fresh and ready to go. So that's what's been happening in my life. I mean, again, I'm human as well. I have like my highs and my lows, but like those are the main 2 highlights I think I want to talk about. Just like, meeting someone brand new. And I'll be honest, like most of my friends at this point, and it's because of the fact that like it was a challenge here. I have friends here, but I mean, actual friends that I didn't have to meet mutual. You know what I mean? Like this was out of dark when somehow somewhere we became friends. But most of my friends are digital because of TikTok and whatnot, and I embrace those. But I think for the most part, like, I have friends here as well, like from mutuals, like from my older. But this is the first, that was something that was cool that the word happened, and then just like the stuff with the workout and the things with being an entrepreneur, which is, you go through your highs and lows. Again, that's the best way I can say it. But anyway, let's go talk about the meat and potatoes of what I want to talk about. Is consistency. Consistency is freaking important. Like, I feel like if you want to be successful at stuff, right, there has to be discipline. There has to be consistency. But how do you expect to be successful if you don't do it every day? I mean, like, just like working out, right? Like, if I never started day one, and regardless of how sore it was from the other days, and that's the thing too, like if you haven't ever worked out and you work out that one day and the next day you're like, oh my God, I'm sore. That's where like the real challenge happens. It's like, okay, you're going to come back. And then when you realize after that sore, okay, let's do it again. the more you work out, it gets better. Like that first couple days is a challenge, but I think what's more important is just like, you just keep at it. So with my fitness journey, right? Like starting back in April, where it was difficult. Like now, if you look at how I worked out before to how I worked out now, it's vastly different. And it goes down to consistency, or just like, as much as I push myself hard, and mind you, what I did, and I think I talked about it before in other podcasts, I had to, how to design the workout. So while I'm here in the Philippines, I also look at it again, like my IG, and I say, oh, what's Hydrox? And then my experiences with, like when I was working out before, was with stuff associated with HIIT, like high interval training, a lot of plyometrics, like that type of circuit workouts. So I was curious about, okay, what do you do this? So how do you put this together? And I always say this, right? If you're not using AI right now, you are really missing out on life. We're in 2026 right now. So when I was able to find a gym, and like I told you guys before, I basically took a picture of every single thing and gave it to ChatGPT. It's like, here's what my layout is. Here's what I have to work out with. Here's the type of workouts I want to do. Give me something. And here we go. Here's a workout they created where basically it's separated by a couple things. It's separated by a strength workout, upper body, lower body, where you're taxing it. So basically it would start, I think what we start off with is like, now we're doing deadlifts, and then deadlifts turns into presses on the ground. Mind you, what's available to me is like dumbbells. So I have dumbbells, a trap bar, kettlebells, med balls, purely like if it's designed to like a CrossFit gym. So the strength workout is basically like deadlifts. It is shoulder presses from the ground, bent over rows, and then we do a leg workout. So what we're doing right now, we're on goblet squats. Oh my God, goblet squats are hard. And it's one of the things where just like it does that. And then we have a thing called the engine, where basically it's the core workout, where it involves sled, push, pull, burpees, cardio exercise, and then we do farmer carry. And then the last piece is like, okay, well, depending on how we are, if you want to tax the body more, here's the finisher. So right now, if you don't know who he is, like Anatoly Fit is like, man, he's been on my mind lately. It's like his shit is amazing. Like where he looks small, but he's super strong. So there's a workout I've been starting to do where it's called suitcase workouts. Like, it's a suitcase carry. So you're basically holding a weight in one arm, and then you include burpees. So that is kind of an ode to, I guess, and I was curious about it. I was like, how do you even be able to lift it? Because he has a mop, and his mop is like 32 kilograms. So basically, that exercise I'm doing apparently gets your grip strength up, and you're able to do certain things like that. Not necessarily saying I'm gonna have a mop and have bring a 32 kilogram mop everywhere, but just like it's good to have strength like that. So going back to what I'm saying, it's just like, being able to design and work out, and then understanding full total circle, like what it involves to be successful at your fitness. Consistency plays a huge role. Like if you're not consistent in anything you do, if you're not consistent in what you eat, like mind you, even the stuff I eat is basically the same shit every day, more or less. Like we have our protein, we limit the amount of carbs we use. I don't intake sugar as much as I should, as should, as in if I was not working out. Like there's so much dessert, especially here in the Philippines. Oh my goodness. Like very strict on myself and being consistent on that. Like I honestly say, like if you are, and this is one of the things where people work out and they focus too much on what they're eating, like their pre-meals and whatnot, and they set these meals, but because of the fact that like they want to make it so extravagant, they go far beyond what they do. And then what happens is they make these pre-meals and go through all this work, and then it comes to week 2, week 3, week 4, and they're like, I don't want to do this anymore. It's too much work. So like for me, I think for me, it's easier to just do the same thing over and over and over. And I think that helps a lot in consistency, where like, for the most part, doing the same thing over and over and over keeps you consistent. In my mind, to each his own. So that helps a lot. Just understanding like, okay, what you eat is going to play a huge role in your workouts and your fitness. Like, let's be honest, like working out is maybe 20% and everything else goes on what you eat. Let's be honest, if you're not following that, if you're working out hard and you just eat McDonald's every day, you might get some gains, but let's be real. You're not gonna gain so much. You're not gonna gain a lot from that if you eat McDonald's all day. And it's the ode from my last coaches where they're like, you're literally going 5 steps forward and 10 steps back. So you're basically, whatever you're putting up for effort is just going into the void of what you just ate or what you just did. So that's where you have to pay attention to what you eat and then just keep on going. Even with the days, there's been plenty of days where it's just like, fuck, why am I here? I don't want to work out. And you have to, is that internal engine in yourself where you're telling yourself like, you got to go. Like the more you do that, the more you force yourself to go, even though if there's days where it's just like, you don't want to go, just go. And that's like where, like I tell you guys, that's how you build discipline. That's how you build the success of what you're doing because of you're so consistent and stuff. And it's like, I'm happy where I'm at right now. Like, I think it's just like, I see so much of the results of like when we started in April, when we started in April to where we are right now, we have done so much and it's freaking amazing how are you doing. And I think also as well, when you see results like that, it's just going to push you even more to go further. And believe me, in my workouts, I tried to go harder to see how much I can do. Granted, I'm in my 40s. I should be careful. Of course, I'd be careful because it's harder, man. When you get injured, it's harder to recover at my age. So yeah, that plays heavily as well. But I mean, like just testing your limits to see what you're doing, and when you see you're beating your limits and see how far you go, like wow, like you just want to keep on going. So being consistent in that. Being disciplined, like that's the best example of being consistent. I think for the most part, even too, just just talking about life. When we touch point about like friends, right? Just being consistent in the things you do to them. Where like it's like the simplest things for me. I do this every morning or every night. I always say good morning to somebody, or say good night to somebody. Like always consistent because of the fact of just acknowledging. Sometimes people love that, and that's my nature. We're just like I want to make sure okay, the people I care about, the friends I have, just just see how they're doing, see how they're feeling. And I always do that every time, where I just say happy, hope you're doing well, not happy, hope you're doing well, good morning, or when it comes to the end of the night, good night, hope you sleep well, blah blah blah. And that's me. That's me being a genuine individual. And sometimes people get caught off guard of that. We're just like, okay, why is he doing this so much? Oh my God, what's his agenda? No, that's just me. And just being consistent in things you do. Even if for friendships, if say what you're going to do, you know what I mean? Or act of what you say. I think that's the better way to say it. It's act when you say certain things you're going to do, you have to do it. If you're going to say oh, no, this is the way I am, blah, 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 this and that, then you should show your actions because of the fact that will build the trust in the individual with you're trying to talk to or trying to build a friendship with. And it goes again, it talks about the consistency. The more you do stuff often, the people realize, oh, this is what the person's really about. The trust is gained because they show okay, this guy is what he talks about. And it's hard too. I always talk about, there's situations where I always show me as saying the same things, doing the same things, and being who I am. And I'd mentioned it before, just when I talk about the stuff I believe in and I run to an individual or just they have no clue what I'm talking about, or just oh my goodness, they're saying, oh, you believe in this shit? What the hell? Are you crazy? This and this and that. And I'm just I get turned off. And this is where I don't, that's goes back again to what I talk about, where just I don't share my energy with everyone. And that's the fact of just it keeps me consistent with my life. I'll be honest, like we talked about the law of attraction, just it's hard to talk to certain individuals who don't understand what you're talking about because of the fact of I feel it's a waste of energy. And that's me. I mean, it might sound like I'm narcissistic. It's just like, I just want to make sure that like the people I talk to at least understand what I'm talking about, or maybe it's one of the things where I feel I want to make sure they get something of value out of it, versus like, two situations. You can tell when someone's paying attention to you or listening to you when they're like looking in your eyes to see who you are and what you're about, versus someone who's like playing with something and not paying attention to you. They probably are focused on something else. And this is where like, like it will tell you, that should be a read for yourself to say, okay, should I pursue this conversation or go somewhere else and find something else? And those are things you should pay attention to at the end of the day. We're just like, okay, this is not the right conversation. I need to go somewhere else, or I need to pay attention to this individual because like, man, like this guy speaks his knowledge, he speaks his truth, he holds himself high. And I think that's more important. It's just like that, where, you want to find those people who align to you, because like it makes your life so much easier. Like, I think for me, I'll be honest, where it's like, it is draining when you're meeting certain individuals who are not on the same wavelength or same vibe as you. And you're just like, oh my gosh, like here we go again. There's the stuff we talk about. And it's like, versus meeting someone who just like clearly understands, or they're giving you opportunity to show who you are. And those are the best things. So like talking about consistency, like showing up for your friends, showing up for like the people like you respect, always doing the same things that not as an expected, but at least shows them, okay, he does this every day. So like at least like you can see like maybe this can apply to his whole life. So like even like the simplest things of saying good morning or good night, asking how they're doing, or like even just jumping in to say, okay, is everything all right? I think that builds the base of your friendship even better. And then also embraces the trust. And those are things like, to have a successful relationship, successful friendship, at least, you need that. You need consistency. Now, if someone tells you like, oh, you don't have to be consistent in a relationship, I don't know what kind of relationship you want. Teach his own. But for me, it shows me a lot where it's just like, okay, you're making the intention to reach out to me. You're putting the intention of like how important this is to you. And also too, it's just like, it just gives you that level of trust or level of comfortability to know that, okay, this is okay. This is someone I can trust. I can hold him with, like this level of information, blah, blah, blah. Why not? That's where you can build the trust and like, see what else you can give. So like, that's like an example like of being consistent. Like even like me, where I mentioned myself, where like being genuine to yourself, being who you are. And I mentioned this in my past. Maybe you caught me a couple times on this podcast here on YouTube, or my old ones on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, where I talk about authenticity, being genuine, being yourself, being who you are. It doesn't do you service, and I'll be honest with you, and this is what plays with consistency. It doesn't do you a service if you're going to act like someone you're not. 100%. Because what's going to end up happening, I'll be honest with you, you're going to be caught up in a web where, one, you have to keep on putting up this persona that you're not, and it may crumble, and it's going to backfire on you. So it's better to, in my mind, to be authentic or be genuine. Be genuine in your intentions. Say what you're going to say. Do what you're going to do. Because if you don't do that, then what are the people you're going to attract? And this is where, like, for me, I'm trying to be that individual who is, most times, again, I'm human, right? Things can happen. That I try to show my best version of myself to people. Because I feel that in my mind, those are the right cues, the right things you should be doing, because it's going to attract you the right people of value. Value to you in the means of like how they're going to fit into your biggest puzzle of life, and how they can maybe assist you or maybe join your journey on wherever you're trying to go. It makes it so much easier when you find the right people versus like the individuals where like you have to compensate so much just to make them happy. Like I've done that so much in my past, and I talked about earlier, just like compensating, trying to make things work when they don't work, and having everything put on your shoulders to figure out, okay, I must do it this way, because if I don't do it this way, I'm gonna lose them. Nah, don't do that. And this is where like it's that trying to be your genuine self at the end of the day. Like, because if you don't be genuine and you try to put this front that you're something you're not, it's gonna bite you so hard. And then like also too, with talking about consistency as well, like it's even if you're building a relationship or base, try to make them feel welcome. And that's where like it goes back with being genuine, being consistent, always talking and speaking your actions. So like I think it helps a lot when like, you know, sometimes when like, you know, someone's going through something and they're running into problems, it's very important just to listen, you know. And sometimes listen to what they're talking about, listen to see like, you know, what their story is about, if they allow you to hear it. And again, that does take a lot of trust, obviously. Like, you know, sometimes people won't trust you and they won't sell you all the cards, but that's the goal of it. It's like if you try to be consistent with things, you know, be consistent with a relationship, that's how you build trust. So they realize that, okay, I can trust this individual with this. I can trust them with information like this because he seems like he's gonna understand it, or she's gonna understand it, what have you. And this is where, like, you know, for me, it's just like I always try to be consistent in everything I do, even with friendships, and try to show them like, okay, in the event that, you know, and it's interesting, like all relationships I have attracted, it's always been me being in a position where I have to give them advice or try to up level their lives or make them feel better. Like this podcast, for example, like the reason why we're doing this podcast is it's not about me, it's about you. It's about what you take out from this, and like how are you gonna up level your life. Maybe this is something you have to listen to where we're talking about being consistent in your life and getting success in things. And maybe you're the individual who are just like, why am I failing at this? It's because maybe you're not consistent. Maybe you're not disciplined enough to get to that point that you're trying to get at. So with that, being consistent with your values, even that means like, you know, like we're here on social media, and this is going to be saved on my YouTube channel, and people are going to see me talking, like even with the small things like you do in life. I mentioned it many times. It's just like having the gratitude when you wake up in the morning, and like meditating in the morning as well. I do meditate in the morning, going through those things that you do every single day, and also ending the same way, being consistent on that. Like when people are not watching, that plays so much to the whole thing I'm talking about consistency. Like I tell you this when I'm going to, like, you know, I wake up in the morning, I do certain things, the morning things I do, but the most important thing I do to make sure that we're successful and stuff, or we have a good day at least, or a good grounding, is meditate. I meditate for an hour. We do a guided meditation, and then like that we ended off with Tibetan singing bowls. Tibetan singing bowls is a guy playing bowls. Those bowls are meant to de-stress you. We listen for like 20 minutes. And then before that, it's like another 20-minute meditation. So like we're about an hour. And then depending what day it is doing the same thing. It's like, it's okay, whether I'm working out the day. So we're basically preparing for self for the workout, finding where we're going to work out using ChatGPT. Then we work out over there. We have dinner, and then we do our content creation stuff, whether we're doing this podcast at night or we're on TikTok doing something. And then the next day, if it's an off work, doing kind of the same thing. We do errands that are important for what we're doing here in the Philippines, and then try to fit in another workout, which is the actor workout we're talking about. So like, you know, the things that people don't even pay attention to, like that like, you know, even like I show certain things on social media, what I'm doing, like the stuff that people aren't watching, just being consistent with yourself. Like it is a challenge sometimes where like, yeah, the things you have to deal with life and things you have to deal with that may affect it, but as much as you try the best you can, right? As much as you try the best you can, that's going to build your consistency. So we talked so much about it. And even we talked from the beginning, like talking about being consistent. When I talked about coming back, from the hibernation of my YouTube podcast. Like, we had to find a way to be able to go live. Regardless of how long it be, we don't have to go back to the 2-hour podcast. I think the goal at this time right now is just to basically, let's do a podcast. Let's do it for at least an hour or so. Like right now we're at about an hour, but do it for an hour or so and just be consistent at it. Don't worry about the edits. Don't worry about how it's going to look. Just do the minimum and then repost that to wherever you're going to post that. So like, I don't know I'm going to do it after this live. I'll probably do it tomorrow morning, but basically do the minor stuff to repost it. Grab your, like for me, grab my shorts to be reposted back on TikTok, here on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, stuff like that. So cut, dry, being consistent, everyone. Like, that's how you're going to get it. Like, be true to yourself. Like, honestly, like, that's the only way you can be consistent, is to being true to yourself, being authentic, be genuine. Now, if you have to put up a front that you're something you're not, then you're going to have so much issues with that being consistent. Like, you just have to understand that, like, you know, that's the one key thing is this, like, just with discipline, consistency takes time. So it's not just built for one moment. It's just like the steps you got to do. So like, in order for you to do that, you got to be consistent. The more consistent you are, the more disciplined you're going to become. At the end of the day, what happens is you're probably going to beat a feat of whatever you're trying to do, or you're probably doing this workout and you're being very successful. You're losing weight because you're doing the same things every day. You're doing the steps that are important to get to the next level. And that's where I talk about consistency plays so much of an important role in who you are. And just keep this in mind. Like, you know, you can be motivated and stuff. You can be motivated like, I'm going to be doing this tomorrow, blah, blah, blah. But like, what's important is that motivation can come and go, but consistency stays. So anyway, I always tell us, like, I want to keep these short, right? I don't want to go so far into the podcast, and I think we're over an hour. So again, this is like, just, you know, I want to talk about a little bit about consistency and just like where I've been doing for the past few days or the past week since the last time we did this. So that was the main thing. Being consistent in what you're saying, rising yourself up. Like, for example, my podcast, I was like, I'm going to come back and we're going to talk about certain things. I will do this every week. More or less, I missed a couple of days, but we're back here talking. It's like your change your focus, your change your path by being consistent in who you are and what you do will play so much a big role. So again, it's always been an honor and pleasure to talk to you guys. I'm going to make sure I don't say my name because I said my name on the last podcast. But I think for the most part, it's always a pleasure and honor for you listening to me. Whether you're watching me here live on YouTube or you see the recordings on my channel, or you see me other places where you see the shorts and whatnot. It's always a pleasure to share my knowledge and share my experience of who I am. And maybe it can be something that you may need when you think you didn't need it. So again, it's been always an honor and pleasure to talk to you all. Again, this is Joe Lobo Presents. This is the Authentic Podcast. Again, we're towards the end. I don't want to keep these long, so I want to just keep it towards the end. It's always an honor and a pleasure to talk to you again. I don't know what we're going to talk about next time, but we're going to be consistent. We're going to be coming back pretty soon. I want to try to do this every week. We'll see. Life gets in the way, but we're going to do that. Anyway, it's always an honor. Good afternoon, good evening, good night, wherever you are. My name is Joe Lobo. This is Joe Lobo Presents. This is the Authentic Podcast. You guys have a great one. Take care.